Hi, my name is Kevin Ballard. I am the Director of Software Validation at MasterControl. I have been with the company for over 12 years. I'm part of the MasterControl Labs team, and that's the group that develops, tests, and specifies the software that our customers get to use. It's a lot of fun to be a part of that team. I love being part of it. The presentation that I'm going to give right now is about frequent release. For those who have or have not heard, MasterControl is moving to a more frequent release methodology. What that means is version 11 took about 3.5 years to specify, develop, test, and then release. We are moving to a more frequent release methodology where future software releases will come out on a more regular, shorter time frame, regular basis. So we're going to talk about frequent release, why we're moving that way, who's doing it, and what are the benefits associated with it. Some goals of frequent release. First, it's to substantially reduce the cost and effort to upgrade. We believe that by taking software releases on a more frequent basis with fewer changes, that the customer's cost to upgrade will be a lot smaller. MasterControl's goal is to release a new product every 3 months. As I said, it's going to have a smaller number of changes. The release documentation is going to be much improved, easier to digest, and there's going to be lower weight validation. These software releases are going to be available to all of our customers, cloud or premise or hosted. With that being said, let's get into the details. So what is frequent release? Well, frequent release is a cornerstone of Agile development methodology. For those who don't know, there's two main camps, methodologies with software development. The first and the oldest is waterfall, and that's where we would specify what the software is going to do ahead of time, spend a long time developing it, then testing it, then release it. Those software releases can take anywhere from 18 months to 3, 4, 5 years. And it very much resembles waterfall. You have code that comes down, and then it's developed, and it comes down to test, and then they test it, and it finally is released to the customers. The other main methodology is Agile development. And that's where, rather than figuring out all of the features all together that you're going to use, that we want in the product, we will get a vision for the software, specify a few features, and get them in and start to release early and to release often. In fact, that's the mantra of frequent release in Agile development, is to release early and to release often. It results in higher quality software because smaller changes are going in with each release, and that in turn lowers the customer risk. There's a tighter feedback loop between customer and vendor, where we can make sure that it fits the customer's needs and make changes faster. And it's similar to design build in the construction industry. As large construction projects are made, used to be that they would specify and design the entire project up front, and then one contractor would do it. You can see this with freeway projects and other large construction projects. They're starting to move to more agile type of construction, where they have different contractors take responsibility for different segments of the road, and they will design it and then they will build it. And in many cases, that's reduced the time of construction in half. So it's not just software, it's across the board, industry, construction, everywhere out there. They're moving to more agile development, construction, frequent release. Well, why would we want to release frequently? I've talked at a high level of some of the reasons for that. Here we'll get into some of the details. First reason, frequent release results in reduced inventory, reduced risk, and reduced complexity. Because the software releases are shorter, they're spaced shorter apart, fewer changes can actually go in. And so that is less risk and less code complexity associated with it. Because of that, for our customers, it means they have lighter validation requirements. Rather than have to revalidate a whole software suite, they're able to just, on a risk basis, risk-based level, they are able to just validate those areas of code that are affected. It allows MasterControl to quickly adapt to market changes. And we're able to ensure that the product fits the intended market earlier. And again, if changes are needed, we can implement those changes much faster, and customers can get those changes much faster. Internally, we get earlier statusing on the status of the software, both its quality and the stability. We're able to identify issues that could cause delays much earlier, and we're able to react to those. And it also keeps customers, employees, and other stakeholders in the software motivated. As we're able to specify small but valuable features that our customers can use, they're able to use it sooner. And as we've seen, as we've talked to our customers across the board, when we mention a new feature, things that are coming up, one for version 11 is our EMS system, our enterprise management system. Customers get really excited. When can I get my hands on it? When can I test it? When can I use this? And rather than having to wait 2.5 or 3 years, as version 11 has taken, we're able to say, hey, this is going to come out in 3 months. We can get this in your hands and get you using this. It's really motivating for our customers. They get excited. And it's really motivating internally on the part of development, QA, services. Everyone gets excited that we're delivering real value to our customers faster. So who actually does release frequently? This seems like a big step for MasterControl. Are we sure that it's good? Who already does this? There are a lot of companies that release frequently, and that list is growing more and more every day. From a high level, some of the bigger names that we have, Google. They do it with their Chrome browser. They do it with Google Docs, all across the board. Firefox, Bing, Amazon.com, Twitter. Microsoft, as I mentioned, they do it with Bing, but they also do it with some of their more traditional software suites. So their Visual Studio, which is used to create .NET applications, computer programs, that foundational software has moved to a more frequent release as well. And then some big enterprise level software that a lot of us are familiar with, Salesforce, NetSuite, and so on. How often do they release their software? Well, Salesforce does about every 4 months. NetSuite pushes a new release about quarterly. Firefox and Chrome browsers, and I believe Bing, every 6 weeks. Google, every 2 weeks. Some channels, they do it more often. And Facebook can do it up to 2 times per day. They get a new feature that they like, and they can push those out up to 2 times a day. And most Facebook users don't even know it until they see something new pop up. So that's fine, but what about regulated companies? Do any of them do frequent release? Well, all the software suites I just talked about, Chrome, Firefox, NetSuite, a lot of those are used in a regulated environment. They may not be validated, but they are used in a regulated environment. And regulated companies accept those frequent releases without trouble. As far as regulated software or regulated companies specifically, I have 3 examples right here. And the list of regulated companies that are moving to a more agile development methodology is growing. First is Abbott Labs and Medtronic, first 2. They are moving towards more frequent release and agile development of their medical devices. GE Healthcare is using frequent release and agile development for pacemaker software, among other things. And here, they have some examples. You can do a Google search and find them and see their studies and results from moving to this development methodology. One important thing to remember is that the FDA doesn't mandate a specific development methodology. The reason waterfall is so widespread is because it's the oldest. It's the most traditional. It's been around since 50s at least. It's the one that everyone's most used and most comfortable with. But the FDA doesn't specify that we have to use a waterfall methodology. In their general principles of software validation document, they recommend an integration of software lifecycle management and risk management activities, but they do not recommend any specific lifecycle model or any specific technique or method. And that's important to understand. If we can use a methodology that ensures that the software is of high quality and that it can be validated sufficiently, the FDA is fine with it. So that brings the next question. What makes frequent release possible, or why does MasterControl think we can do this? Well, I'm going to kind of repeat some things, some points here, but just for emphasis. Our current release cycle, version 11, which just released, they tend to be large releases with thousands of changes. And so if you look at version 11, you have this ginormous rocket ship full of features, full of good things, but some of them haven't been used for up to 3 years. We've been working on version 11 for 3.5 years. So some of these features have been complete and tested for 3 years and no one's been using them. Very difficult to get off the ground and get in, and takes a long time to get into customers' hands. Here's just some numbers to explain our major releases. So over the course of MasterControl version 6, you can see there were about just over 5,000 man-hours of time put into that release and the features that went in. Version 9, which was previously our largest release, had almost 20,000 man-hours of work put into it. You can see version 11 had over 65,000 hours of work put into it. And in that graph on the right, you can see just in sheer number of issues that have been put into the software, version 11 is also far and away our largest release. So you can relate these numbers and the number of features back to that rocket ship. It's a big rocket ship with lots and lots of features and lots of time put into it. Frequent release cycle, what that'll do is it's going to allow us to load these rockets with smaller payloads. They're going to be smaller releases, smaller payloads, fewer changes. They're going to be focused feature sets. So we'll have a vision or a theme for each release. Say maybe 11.2 is going to be our GUI release. I don't know, but if that is our GUI change release, there will be a certain set of features that align with that we will release with it that are going to be focused to that release. These major, we'll call them these main releases, are going to look a lot more like our point releases. And I'm going to kind of pause here in the slide deck for a second. You could say, well, you know, MasterControl has only done these big releases. And actually, we've been doing frequent release for years. If you look at the point releases as frequent release, we have been releasing fixed releases, we call them point releases, every 2 months. And it has a focused set of feature changes, small set of P1 critical bugs for customers. And we've been doing that every 2 months, 4 years. Our frequent release cycle is going to look more like that. It's going to have a focused set of enhancements along with bug fixes. So you can see, how is this good? Well, compare those major releases to these minor releases. Here you can see that our largest minor release was version 8.1 at about 3,000 man-hours. And in terms of issues, about 250 total issues going in. So much smaller. If you go to our point releases, it doesn't even really register on the scale. Our largest release set of point releases were in version 10, and those have on the order of hundreds of man-hours rather than thousands, and less than 100 fixes to the code. What is going to make frequent release possible for us? Well, from a development and QA standpoint, we have substantially increased our automated and unit testing. So what that means is, as a developer puts in some code, it is automatically tested by either development or QA. And it's done that on a regular, it's done on a regular basis. We do daily, if not hourly, regression testing. That is critical to enable frequent release. The other critical factor for it is that upgrades must not break. We cannot let our customers upgrade and have anything significant break. And this is much easier to do for small releases than it is for large releases. And then we have new upgrade processes to leverage new tools, new technologies, and enable lighter validation. Last slide, really, what is this going to look like at MasterControl? What is the release cycle going to look like? You can see we just released version 11, and that line aligned with version 10.1.10. We're going to continue the 10.1 line out for about a year, that is, the point releases are also going to move to quarterly releases. 11.0, 11.1 will be coming out in November. 11.2 will be coming out in February, and 11.3 will be coming out in May. Every once in a while, we will identify one of these version 11 releases as a patchable release, meaning P1 critical fixes can go in it. And so if someone wanted to upgrade without taking on new enhancements, in this example, they would go to 11.2.0, and then 3 months later they could get 11.2.1 that has P1 critical fixes. And they would stay on that 11.2 line. There wouldn't be any enhancements. And then if they want enhancements, they can move over to the main line there. Each of those lines represents a quarter in the calendar year. So in the middle of each quarter, we will be doing a new release. So that's the end. I would just like to emphasize this really is going to allow us to put good and valuable features that are of very high quality into our customers' hands on a more frequent basis. We won't have any more long periods of when is this going to release, when is this going to release. We're going to have a quarterly release. The QA testing and the development testing has moved to a level that is unprecedented in MasterControl, and it's just going to get better. We're going to continue to improve and really ensure that we can get good, solid, valuable features into our customers' hands so that they will be delighted with MasterControl and our software. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your time.